Hello, everyone, and we are live. Welcome back to Staking Mondays. My name is Ken, and I'm with co-founder of Staking Rewards, Merkel Schmiedel, and we are delighted to welcome today's guest, Cyrus Fazel, the founder and CEO from Swissborg. And before we start today, I'd like to mention that today's episode is very special. There's actually a 5,000 CHSB giveaway today, in which 5 winners will be selected for 1,000 CHSB each. So this is huge, guys. This is a giveaway that's worth about 3,000 USD. So you want to pay attention to how you can participate in this right now. So first, you want to follow Staking Rewards and Swissborg on Twitter. Secondly, you want to subscribe to the Staking Rewards YouTube channel, where you should be watching this video right now. And then you also want to download the Swissborg app, and that's where you're going to receive the CHSB in case you win. Okay. And to increase your chances of winning, drop a question for Cyrus in the chat during today's episode. Make sure to mention your Twitter handle as well after the question so we can get in touch with you to make sure you know that you've won. All right. So, Cyrus, welcome, and let's jump right into it today. So, we're going to start you off with a few icebreaker lightning round questions. And right away, Cyrus, what was the first crypto investment you had outside of BTC and Ethereum?
Good question. I have to remind. I think so. It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was probably Litecoin, I would say. Yeah, Litecoin was the third one down,
That's cool.
and that
And
was in
which,
2016.
yeah, and which person inspired you the most during your crypto journey all the years?
I would say many of them. Andrea Santanopoulos was definitely one that but Roger Ver, I think so as well, was a great one. I like when people have been building for such a long time and have been continuously, CZ is one of those, even if he hasn't listed CHSV token. I think so there's been many, Brock Pierce, that's another one that, has been really rocking the ecosystem for a long time. And yeah, I would say those four are definitely some great ones.
Yeah, I
And
love those
Vitalik,
guys.
obviously. Vitalik. Sorry, I forgot Vitalik. Vitalik was probably the one that really brought me into crypto, to be honest, because I had Bitcoin, but when I understand the vision and the mission of Ethereum, that's when I really got interested. So Vitalik would be probably, yeah, the one who gave me the most influence.
Excellent. And Cyrus, how about an inspirational crypto lending platform outside of your own?
Aave, for sure.
Cool. And what's your like? Do you listen to crypto podcasts? Do you have a favorite?
Well, there's Crypto Night, obviously, because my brother does it. That's really cool. That there's on Chain, obviously, you guys. But yeah, there's few of them I like quite a lot.
Last time you checked your crypto portfolio?
A few seconds ago.
Right on. And like, which destination are you planning to travel to next?
Well, to Mars, or to the next planet. But if not, I think so. Right now with the lockdown, I'm in Switzerland, that pretty much, and probably will be going to south of France to go see my mom as well.
That's cool. Amazing. So let's jump into some of the questions that we prepared for today. By the way, I'm super excited about the giveaway as well. That's the biggest giveaway we ever had, and I really would like to participate as well. So like drop your questions in the chat, guys, and we'll pick a winner at the end then. So, Cyrus, like, what's your short-term price prediction for the crypto market now that like everything is going down a bit? Like, what are your thoughts on it? And how do you think that will play out in the short term, like next few days or until the end of the year, kind of?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so I did this, and shout out as well to all the Swissborg community. I see a lot of people here, Dennis and Lindani and so many others. Really cool to see you. And thanks for checking out this podcast live. Um, I think so. I did a tweet on Saturday evening or Saturday morning, And I think the consensus was very interesting one, because whenever you do a Twitter poll about crypto, it's always, most people, it's always, we're going to 200,000 Bitcoin and whatever, 5 trillion market cap, total market cap, right? And here it was actually, so some people were more in like the 50K by the end of the year. Some people were a little bit bearish and some people were a little bit bullish. So it was really a good consensus, which actually was pretty flattish. Um, it's always very hard. I thought that December was not going to be great. So far, it definitely doesn't look very good. But who knows? We could have just one catalyst and then it can move the market. People are all talking about crypto winter. It might happen because, well, COVID and Omicron, all of that, maybe it's to destabilize. But I don't see this like a real winter. Like, yeah, I don't see that more than a month to where people, maybe we'll have a sudden crash and correction and then, build back stronger fundamentals because the market is so different. So I see Bitcoin roughly at 50,000 by the end of the year. Um, but who knows?
Yeah, and it's interesting. You kind of touched on it where there's a lot of contradicting predictions when it comes to the price of crypto. And why do you think it is that it's so hard to predict the price of crypto? Is it because the market's so new, or is there so many global contributing factors? What is it?
Well, it's the whole point, right? You don't want to make it easy. If not, like, why would you watch a movie if you know every ending by heart, right? The greatest movies are the ones where you're trying to figure out what's the ending, you're trying to figure out who's doing what, and at the end you get surprised. And I think so this market is you know, there's a lot of different fundamentals that goes to this market, but there's a lot of insanity that comes to this market and drives the I love you Bitcoin and I love you Ethereum to this is a shitcoin, right? Which is always a very awkward bipolar type of relationship. And I think so. The big difference is that today we're using crypto. We haven't been using that much crypto until DeFi and and I would say now with a bit with NFTs and all the metaverse that's being built and all that. So we're going to be more using more and more this technology, not as such as an investment tool, but as a real way to create, value. And I think so that's the big difference from the crypto winter back when, well, 2017 we all loved crypto. In 2018 everyone hated crypto. But there was not such strong use cases, right? ETH Lend back then when they did their ICO, they launched their platform, they had like 50 users. Aave now has, a big amount of users and more importantly has, yeah, 20 billion plus locked into their platforms. So it's a very different stimulus and but it still has a bit about this bipolar market, which is that I love you, I hate you. And this is the biggest leap of Web3 is going to change the world to this was just quite a scam. And I think so. It's good. It's just people have to believe in what they invest, what they use, and what they love. And if you connect, as I always say, the three P's: product, sorry, profits, purpose, no, purpose. Sorry, I got that wrong. So you go profits, and then you use the product, and that at the end you invest with purpose. Well, then you're gonna have a great experience.
That's great. Makes a lot of sense. And then like for the prices in general and for the crypto market volatility, do you think that staking and like yield aggregation and like lending platforms and everything, do you think like having this capital locked up there and like having people actually participate, like being able to participate with these tokens, do you think that will help to stabilize the market?
Completely. Yeah, that's exactly it. I think so. The focus is very much different because if you just buy Bitcoin and you buy at 20,000 and you say, well, then now it's 50,000, now it's back to 20,000, whatever, you just look that as an investment. But if you start using it as a passive income and a way to start earning around the staking, we see it on our platform today. I think so. Two-thirds of all the crypto we have are actually yielding and that makes something really, really good because people will start realizing that, it's not a short term. It's actually a midterm and maybe a long-term way of thinking, right? And I think so that's great. That's something that has dramatically changed the value of how we invest. And yeah.
Yeah, and it should stabilize the markets, right? So, do you believe there will be another bear bull cycle like we've seen in the past years, maybe the 2017, 2018, or even going back to 2013 and 2014? Or do you believe we're basically going to continue here in just one massive super cycle with smaller drawbacks, considering staking and institutional adoption stabilizing the markets?
Well, the Great Depression happened right in the financial markets, and they happened in 27 and 89, then after, or maybe 79, sorry, then in 87, and then in 2007. But those, if you look at the since 1927 to 2007, or was it 23? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Out of the last 80 years, you saw the depression always went smaller amount of time, right? It started like years back then in the 20s, which then led to the last real depression, which was 2008, but it was only like a year or maybe 14, 16 months, let's say. And I think so it's the same thing with crypto, which is that I don't see a crypto winter that will last for 2 years. It just doesn't make sense anymore. The game is very different. There's staking, there's DeFi, there's NFT, there's metaverse, but more importantly, there's great products. Back then products sucked. Sorry for saying there's not many good great products. So here we're seeing more and more building different products. We see as well that all these big corporate institutions are adopting and investing into metaverse and trying to create their own shops and this and that. And at the end, the last thing is that, or the two last figures is that all the big money is not all the big money, big amount of money is actually into crypto, and we're seeing more and more ways for pension funds, for endowments, and for countries to have a crypto as a legal tender to actually invest. And if you look at the whole of a spectrum of investment, you see that credit and fixed income in general gives you 0%, or is actually negative in some countries, which is in the case of Switzerland. Then you have essentially commodities, but that's not ESG approved. So people like just investing into commodities is not as, it's not going to be working that well. Equities, we have had probably the craziest year, I think. So we're up 25%. The market has gone like one way pretty much since the last 10 years. And then that's pretty much it left, right? There's not so many ways to invest. I mean, there's real estate, but real estate as well has went through the roof. So what I see is potentially a massive correction as we've seen in the past year, and that cycle will be very short. And then we'll bounce back strong again and probably go to all-time highs again.
That's cool. So like you are based in Switzerland, right? And what do you think is like currently the biggest like biggest potential for crypto? Like which nation states do you think have the biggest potential for crypto adoption, like on the high quality side, like to get people in with like who can really have an impact on like the global crypto community and change it for good really, and to go one step further into mainstream, and like also what kind of like which countries do you see the biggest traction from, like on Swissborg as well? Like where do all the users come from? And yeah.
I mean, in Switzerland, obviously, we're very spoiled, right? We don't have any problems, pretty much. Just never had any problems. I mean, massive problems. Economical, political, social, um, wars, whatever. I mean, obviously, there's COVID right now, but even COVID probably will have enough people that will be able to manage hospitals. Will be able to still go skiing where I'm right now in the mountains. And so blockchain could only help Switzerland, but it's not a necessity yet because it's just a very well direct democracy, a well managed country that's quite small. Where you see the growth of crypto which is getting more and more interesting, is into emerging markets, right? Those are the markets where you need the most. And I was talking about this with Anthony, the co-founder of Swissborg, the other day of how metaverse is just a great way. If you're born in Switzerland, you're from a good family, you get access to studies, and you don't need to, you're allowed to express your opinions. You don't have any issues whatsoever. It's great, right? You don't need to go to metaverse. If you're in the Philippines, or if you're in Venezuela, or if you're in all these different countries where it's very hard to express maybe your individuality, but even more harder to actually earn. Well, what are going to start doing is actually going to metaverse, and you see that with Axie Infinity. Their biggest amount of users, is from those countries, right? And I see that going more and more to how things are going to evolve with crypto. Is everyone going to do DeFi in crypto? Hard to know. Maybe through Swissborg is going to be very easy, or other different platforms, because you just need to just press one button and you're done, right? But going to swapping into one bridge to another bridge, and then yield farming on node, then depositing to liquidity pools, making sure the ratio is good, looking good, they're not going to be liquidated, all that's never going to happen. I mean, to be honest, why would you do that? It's just it's just I mean, I love it, but most people don't. So I really see that, yeah, play to earn is really that massive point where people are going to start being like, hey, I don't need to invest anymore into crypto to really enjoy this blockchain revolution. I could start actually playing. And by playing, I earn, rewards, and then I could maybe invest more or whatsoever. But this is where I think so a lot of value creation will be brought, and that's why, really back then with Engine, we created a great partnership. There's different games they launched for us and all that, and I strongly believe gaming is going to be, if it's Decentraland, if it's Sandbox, Aveguchi, or many other new ones that will take over. It's going to be fascinating to see the adoption curve, and yeah, hopefully that will happen in next year.
Absolutely. Fascinating insights on the play to earn trend that we're seeing now. It's sort of level the playing field, so to say, for all the users that are getting into it. Talking about some of the yields that are generated on the Swissborg platform, Cyrus, can you tell us how these yields are generated? The smart yield specifically?
Yeah.
Does it imply leverage, or how sustainable is the yield that you guys are generating?
Yeah, that's a good question. So starting next year, we're gonna bring more and more ways to potentially get yield, and it'll be on a risk basis. I think so. That's something very important to know. And to every listener, there's no free lunch or free dinners in life. When you're getting interest rate, I mean, there's a risk, right? That's easy. People believe it's just like, you're just depositing, and you're not exposed to any risk. That is a very wrong, unfortunately wrong connotation. So what we have seen with the last year, so it's been now 13 months, we're offering yield to our lovely community members. And by the way, it's super cool to see all these green hearts, by the way. Green hearts to you guys as well. um, uh, the idea is that we've created an oracle that scans essentially all these different yield platforms. Back then, we used to do this on like across a very big amount of platforms. And then over the summer, a little bit earlier, yeah, over the summer-ish, we started saying like, okay, this is great, but maybe there is a lot of risk. And we've seen, a lot of different news, and a lot of people have lost in, their funds. So we went really to flying to quality, where we said, okay, what are the platforms where we know and we have partnerships, or at least we know them on a personal level. It's like Aave, Compound, all these different other guys, Curve, and others that we've listed. All these projects that we list, we really try to work with them, and this is really what we're doing today is essentially mainly on Ethereum, on Matic, and as well Binance Smart Chain. We try to make sure what are the most secure platforms, and how can we start offering yield through crossing between these different platforms. And that's, I think, so we believe it's probably the easiest and the fairest way to reward. It's maybe not triple digit numbers or even sometimes double digit numbers, but at least on a risk basis, again, we feel comfortable that we're not going to have any impermanent losses, which happen, and that's why we're right now doing this only with few platforms.
Can you say which factors influence the yield on Swissborg exactly? To say, like, if there's like a lot of leverage in the market, the yields go up, and like, do you have like some kind of ways looking at the market and saying, okay, if this happens, then the yields will go up, or like if that happens, the yields will go down or something?
Yeah, I mean, so what we do is that, I mean, what we do in terms of risk is that we always try to factor the risk into multiple different layers. The first one, we look at projects and what they're doing. Then we look at, liquidity pool size, how big are we in the pool? Then we look at what's the underlying, if it's DAI or if it's another different stable coin, what is the risk as subject to that one? And we really try to factor in all the different risk financial metrics then as well with all the technical ones. So this is really more cybersecurity and the team that is looking on a daily basis saying, okay, these are the right platforms. Oh, wait, there's an update on this protocol. We have to look in this Oracle and make sure that, things are going to be updated or not in a proper way. So this is really how we factor in the most risks and how do we really manage to hopefully perform in the best way. Yeah. And then in terms of markets, how do we look at markets? Well, obviously, when markets are very shaky, you have to be looking you have to essentially be looking at this on a on an hourly constant basis and making sure that wherever your funds are, there's no the liquidator factor has to be working very well. But that again, we when you're doing this with the platforms that are big, such as Aave and Compound, the risk is very yeah uh, is much lower than with the bigger ones, yeah, or with the smaller ones. Sorry.
Yeah, so obviously you're managing risk by going with these well-known platforms, the bigger ones, right? But how would you manage an instance where user funds were at risk? Would you how would you protect the users in that case? Is there any kind of insurance fund that backs up users' funds, or like how do you protect
Yeah,
the user in the end? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We always have managed to put so some of our fees essentially were bought into this um sorry, I forgot the name. But into this I forgot it, how do you say it? But in this basket that was essentially is that if there's any permanent losses, well, the long story short, Swissborg will be paying it back. We now have like a big amount of CHSB that is there, and that in any case, if it happens that there's any permanent losses, well then Swissborg would take the decision of essentially paying this back in CHSB tokens. So a safety net. There you go. I was looking for a word. So yeah, we put in place a safety net, and but we again, I think that with providing better, I mean lower yields but less risky ones, we strongly believe that today the game has changed, and really starting next year, this is really I think so. There's many things obviously there's in the pipeline and the roadmap, but there's two different things. Is that one of the goal at Swissborg is to understand what's your financial purpose in life, right? And really to educate people and edutain people in the best way, well, people can start really creating their financial ID on the blockchain and really get to know what do they want to do, right? And I think so. The smart engine where you just buy crypto and it shows you the best routes, that has been the first one, the yield as well. But the yield of next year is to start saying, okay, there's these amounts of different strategies. Which one do you feel the most comfortable with? And just to know if you want to get like 8% with USDC or 15%, we'll try to explain you what's the rest between these two. And essentially the user will be able to choose his own risk profile. And I think so that's something that's really interesting because we're thinking, we'll probably bring in mining in different ways, and obviously there's a lot of different ways. And if you look on the brackets of these different risk, the lowest one would be probably staking on a blockchain, right? If you're validating a node, well, probably that is the lower risk. If you're going to yield farm on something that's a little bit crazy, well, then it's doable, but it'll be at your own risk, right? And I think so. Hopefully, users will understand this and will be able to, yeah, to enjoy at their best fit. Yeah.
Awesome. And so, like, how do you pitch Swissborg, or like the lending service that you're offering to someone like who's entirely new to crypto? Like, I don't know, like my mom or someone else, like who hasn't been really exposed to crypto much, and but they want to make use of like earning yield from crypto and like getting into crypto. Like, how would you pitch your solution to them?
So yielding on Swissborg platform, we call this yodeling. Okay, like yodel. It's from the Swiss, or I mean Austrian or German, whatever you want to call it, the singing, right? And how you use and you yodel the crypto. Well, what I say is that every month we have over 55 people that are over 80 years old that yield through Swissport. And every month we have a little bit more than 50 people. And this has been doing it for the last, let's say, 7, 8 months. So that means it's quite easy to do it, right? So these people most of the time are grandparents that yodel. And essentially it's their kids that tell, not their kids, their grandchildren that teach them how to do it. So at first it's very easy. And, I think so, you know, Yodeling is very interesting because you're earning a yield, but more importantly, you're actually using the blockchain. And as Ken said earlier, is that you start thinking in a different way, right? Swissborg token, it might be at 150 or at 50 cents, but if you're a short-term investor, maybe this will you'll feel uncomfortable, right? If you're a long-term investor, we've seen this with multiple cycles of early stage companies, of early stage cryptos, and we see at the long run, well, even if there was inter-monthly volatility or an inter-quarterly volatility, on the long run, it didn't really matter, right? And this yodeling mindset is much smarter than just trying to buy low and sell high, right? Or to trade it into trade every day. Some people are very good at it, but maybe if you're elder senior people, it's just that okay, you buy what you believe in, then you start yodeling with it, and you could use the interest rates if you want them. I mean, the interests that you get out of them, or just leave it and hopefully, 10, 20, 30 years from now, you'll be able to change someone's life or your own life or whatsoever. In Switzerland, we have done this with Nestle. So most people that are fortunate that their grandparents bought Nestle, they've been essentially invested with Nestle, just let it what it is, but got those 4% dividend. It's one of the highest, by the way, stock for dividends. And I'm not sure it's still 4%, by the way. Maybe it's not much lower, but it used to be like that. And a lot of people have just been living on the interest rates of the coupon of dividend of Nestle. And a lot of these people have gave it to their children, they gave it to their grandchildren. And I think so. Crypto should be working on the same way, where you could live on this interest rate and hopefully pass it over to the next generation to use it and yeah, change the world while doing it. So.
Hmm. Yeah, and I love using that analogy of dividends on equities, comparing that to staking yields or yields on crypto products. I think it's the best way to relate to that older generation to let them know exactly what's going on here with the yields in crypto. But we do have some regulatory hurdles that have popped up over the last year, especially here. So I was wondering, is there any regulatory hurdles that you've faced recently, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think so. The yield is all, I think so when you're doing staking and when you're doing yield farming and then you're converting that yield farming into tokens, that there's a lot of different approaches, right? Some to say, oh, these are dividends, and the other one say, no, actually there's an activity behind it. that activity shows that it's not a dividend, because a pure dividend is something they just hold passively, right? So if you're validating something, if you're staking and you're doing yield farming into that, you're doing that active approach. So I think so. In the US, it looks like the regulators are really going strong on this. I would say in Europe, it's always like the things that your brain approach is that they're trying to really understand this in a good way. Most regulators, we have an open discussion with them, and I think so. You know, there's three things. First is that is this a regulated activity or not? In the case of DeFi, well, not really yet. We're getting there. Second, are you doing proper AML, KYC for all your customers or community members? Yes or no? Are you using a lot of leverage and letting know that you're doing this and there's a factor risk that is very high or not? Yes or no, right? And at the end, I think so that's what regulators want, right? Is always to make sure that what is being done is clear and you're giving this to the right people, especially in Europe. In the US, it's a bit different. That's why we're not there. But I think so. That's the approach that we have been doing, and always having this open conversation. And regulators are here to help. They're not here to sanction people and to bring down crypto projects and all that. That's maybe some people believe in that, but at least the regulators we talk to are really for innovation, and they just want you to do it in the right way and play around with them in a such way that there's a strong respect and there's you do it in diligent process too. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I like that point, and it really makes sense. Of course, regulators are here to help the industry thrive and provide more certainty for the entire space to continue to scale up and grow.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's really important to talk and have these discussions with regulators and see what's the best like outcome in general. So like I don't know, like when Swissborg was founded, or like it's probably a few years back. Maybe you can give like a little bit like story, like on the founding story behind Swissborg, and then also what was like the most difficult part for you as like the founder and the team to like make this like a $1 billion kind of app, and like what were kind of like the milestones for you on the way to get where you are right now with Swissborg?
Yeah, Mirko, just before asking the question 10, if you're okay, I could just answer the Yodeling 2.0 with the Swissborg yield. I think so that's a very interesting one. Um, so right now, if you're essentially staking Swissborg token, enables you to receive a yield, right? And we thought that this is a great way to give more, essentially more utility to this Swissborg token. This was extremely well received. I think so. It was in late Q1 of this year. And but then we thought about, what's our mission, or at least our vision of Swissborg, and it's a decentralized nations, right? And we thought about this decentralized approach, and we said, well, how if the big whales are actually yielding on Swissborg and yielding even more, that means we'll have a stronger concentration of big users. And not that we don't like, I have a big amount of obviously Swissborg tokens, and we're not against the fact that, but it's very important to encourage a lot of people to get into our platform. And we said that how can we maybe look in a very more sustainable way to build this. So we looked at all different theories of Guinea and this and that to see how does a network effect really work? And we really tried to create this virtuous cycle, which is that we incentivize extremely higher people. We incentivize essentially small little fish that are just getting into the platform to have higher essentially yield on the Swissborg token to enable them to start accumulating some of Swissborg tokens and then get to be, for example, community premium or the next new premium that we're building. And that it's a very good incentivized way to bring people to get more into the Swissborg network. And then obviously this network effect will have just a great thing. And I believe that that's a lot what is connected to our mission and how essentially, you know, it's better to be yielding with 5 million people onto an ecosystem through Swissborg, or just to have, let's say, 5,000, which have a very big amount of money, right? That's the whole mission of Swissborg. And maybe that goes to the next question you had. Question number 10 is, why and how did we went through these different years? Anthony and myself, we worked in finance for a long time and never really enjoyed our jobs. We didn't ever feel that we had a mission. We would work at, asset managers, private banks, whatever, and money to make money, right? And then money to give to the very special VIPs. And we just never really got the whole thing. And in 2015, both quit our jobs. No, no, he then was working for actually another startup. And 2016, we said, okay, how can we literally change the world by democratizing wealth management, by making fun fair and community-centric? And that's quite an oxymoron, right? Democratizing wealth management doesn't make sense to some extent. Fair, fun, and community-centric is definitely not something that is in wealth management usually. It's probably the opposite. And yeah, we had this crazy idea. We happened, obviously, the ICO was, that big landmark that enabled us to have our first token generation event and to raise that capital. And what has been the reason why we've been able to manage this successfully is we're always connected to our mission, right? I mean, when I see Ray right now, says BFAM with the thing, and old Dennis, and Marco, and I Roman, and everyone with these green hearts, you know they could be super pissed right now, right? They could be super pissed and saying, "Hey, Cyrus, Swissborg is trading at 60 cents, right? It used to be at 150, right?" But they understand that the profit is very important, but the product we're building is great, but the philosophy behind it is even better. And that's why when you win hearts, the heart is the strongest thing that enables you to do crazy things. If your parents, or if you're children, even if you look at your parents, whatever happens, it will still be your parents, still be your brothers and sisters, and you have that heart. And I think so that's what we've been really created at Swissborg, is that right in the beginning he said, we want to go to the Mars, we want to go to the moon, but it's going to be very bumpy. It's going to be extremely challenging. We're going to have to be very resilient. The crypto winter killed 99% of projects. It made us just stronger. It made us, and we had a lot of, a lot of bad things in that crypto winter, but we just knew that was gonna, we're gonna pass that through, and we're gonna be very successful because we're on a mission. And I think so that has been really the quest, is whenever I talk to founders, and what's their mission and what's their vision, and how do they really prevail with their community. If you have the love that you have for your community and your mission, most probably you'll be hiring the right people, building the right products, having the right vision to launch these great things and hopefully be successful with them. But and I had this conversation with the founder of Axie Infinity, and it was funny that how he understood something very well. He says, my only goal is to make sure my community plays, enjoys, and makes a very good amount of money while doing so. And I think so that that usually you don't really have it. Most video game guys are like, I just want to build a cool video game, and make sure that everyone is stick to their control pad and playing my game all the time, and then buying these different whatever things. And that's a great mentality for 2010. Now we're going 2022, and we need to really, create this fantastic experience, have a mission, create a fantastic product and experience with it, but more importantly, grow with your community.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, Cyrus. And it seems like Swissborg has an amazing community here just by all the comments in the chat, all the green hearts I'm seeing. You guys are really winning on that aspect big time. So, what would be the next massive milestone for crypto adoption you see coming in the next months and years? I know you already mentioned play to earn. You want to just build on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, play to earn is definitely one of the big theme. But there's other things, right, as well. It's like uh, Audius, for example, is a company that I don't think that their product is ready yet, to be honest. I think so the product has to really be improved. There's different social media that tried that never got into it. But we need to understand more and more that if we centralize all the power towards few companies, we might have no way back. These tech companies and these potentially other companies, mostly tech companies, they could have a great vision, but they could as well eventually, make you become their cyborg, right? We want to have our own decentralized cyborg, and I think so. That's something that we really have to, as individuals, entrepreneurs, really favor in is how we could essentially still be able to build our own individual thinking, our process, and our communities, right? Um, so yeah, big trends. I said play to earn is definitely the metaverse. There it's going to be the Facebook one and the decentralized one. Obviously, I'm favoring the other one, the decentralized one. That's going to be a big theme. I think that if we're able to entertain people through NFTs, through tokens that could be interactive, we could have more and more gaming around, not essentially just a game, but like where you could vote for things that make sense, how you could maybe build, a lot of different things that where people could be interactive. Like let's say, I don't know, maybe a movie or cartoon or a comic book where people start rating it and start saying, "Oh, I want to vote on this and that," and it makes it evolve a little bit like we saw Black Mirror, the Bandersnatch one, where you're able to choose like what type of ending you wanted. If you build more and more playful ways where you could essentially get more governance rights, and you could decide the fate of what's happening. I think so. Those would be a lot of, yeah, that would be a lot of, uh, there's a lot of room there, and that could help a lot of people because we haven't listed any mem tokens at Swissborg, and it's always this very controversial talk, right? Whereas that people like, oh, we need it. Imagine all the people that want to buy it, but even those want to cash out. There's a great way for bringing more people in it, and blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of different things. Then there's the other side, which is that, oh, but this, you can't. We're about fundamentals at Swissborg. The Swissborg token is so great because there's so much utilities. If you bring in Floki, sorry, or I don't know, Shiba Inu or Dogecoin or whatever, you're essentially bringing something that doesn't have so much value. And yeah, I think so. That first extension of Shiba and of Dodge is really cool. Is how to make fun of like people that believe that they're the smartest people and biggest hedge fund managers of all time, and then there's like a 18-year-old kid that just overperforms his last 5 years of track record or even his 50 years of track record just by investing into it. I think it's super cool to be honest. Especially I work in hedge funds, so when I see those people, I mean, I think this is just great. But I feel this is like the first, right? Just having and buying Shiba makes you maybe cool enough to say like, I can make that crazy, insane performance, but then you start to have to live it more, and maybe this could be marketplace for NFTs and these like So Rare, for example, is a quite cool company of how people could play with these NFT tokens and how they could start to you know uh, do what they like the most with football, or Chili's have some things funds as well with these fan tokens. So a lot of these different initiatives where people could with different cryptos, whatever the form is, enable to participate in what they like the most.
But then do you think that could actually be a conflict when you give like a lot of voting rights to users for like how they develop over time? Like, for example, if you let the users on Swissborg vote for like which token to add, they will probably choose like some meme coin, right? But from
Well,
your
we did that.
decision, you don't, right? So
No, we did that. So we not for the last three we voted, but just for the one before, and US got into it, right? But in the beginning we said, okay, what type of cryptos you want to list? So obviously we cannot list every blockchain, right? There's not every blockchain yet is compatible with our infrastructure layer, which is MPC, and it's quite complicated to add is Fireblocks. And so people are start saying, okay, we want these top 10 tokens. And it happened that Dodge or Shiba was one of the potentially winner out of the creating the first 10 tokens, whatever you want to list it. And then they said on the top 10, which one do you want to list, right? And we did give our recommendations, right? It's very similar to what's happening in Switzerland, right? Is that you need to get a lot of people to vote for essentially to create an initiative. You need 100,000 people that needs to vote. This essentially was done through our Swissborg National Council. And then premium users were able to vote essentially, were able to vote for which one they really wanted with a factor, which is that our Genesis Premium was the highest premium, had a 5 times more votes than the Community Premium. But we got more than 10,000 people, I think so, or 15,000 people that voted for this. So that's quite very high for blockchain related subjects. And they voted for US, and US is a great project. And yeah, the next one, we will love to do exactly the same for the next tokens to be listed where people, because at the end, I was watching just earlier, right earlier, these beautiful swarm intelligence of these birds, right? Some people could say it's super messy, and some people say it's the nicest form of science and art at the same time, where you have one, one leading and then another one leading another one, and until you're voting on samples that are well thought and that the community is well aware, why not? And who knows where value is? Like today, we're all saying there's value in Bitcoin. It's obvious. But 5 years ago, where a lot of us saying there's value in Bitcoin, it was 20 years ago. Was it normal to say that Google stock, I mean, tech stocks was going to overtake the whole S&P? Some probably would say it was obvious, but I could tell you Warren Buffett bought Apple in 2017, so that means it was not that obvious. And what the value is usually what people think it is. So if you have, I don't know, 500,000 people that want to list one token, well, probably that's the token you want to list, because if those 500,000 people buy it, that token is going to the moon. So yeah.
yeah, cool. So I think we are ready to move on to some of the community questions. And we've picked some here. So the first one is from Dennis Glavon, and he's asking like what motivated you like to build throughout like the entire bear market from 2018 to 2020. So you talked about it earlier, but yeah, what was your motivation in like keep on building the community and like expanding on the vision? And yeah.
So a lot of entrepreneurs always think that raising capital is very difficult, and it is. But the most difficult is about building something that people love, and then continuously have that same mindset of always creating crazy ideas that transforms into lovely scalable products. That's the hardest part. When you raise and you are like the head of the game and you think that you won the thing because you raised that hard cap, it's great. And then when you see that hard cap is no more 52 million, it's now worth like 10 million, 15 million. There's two ways. There's the panic mode where he's like, okay, sorry guys, I'm out. And whatever that money is, you'd rather give it to a DAO, or if you're not very nice and kind, you just keep it for yourself, right? Um, and I think so. There's different mindsets. What I always loved resilience. I did everything that was in my life about resilience. Even today, To be honest, the nicest thing you could give me is to frustrate me. When you frustrate me, I'll make sure that I'll convince you eventually, right? All the all the people, for example, we had extremely bad articles, even Switzerland, that was saying I was the thief and all of that and blah blah blah, which obviously was bullshit. People who wrote those articles are massive fan of Swissborg today. And that has been like one of my things, like, okay, you think that of me, it's fine. Well, time will tell you, and that when I say something, I put all the heart with it, and I try to make it happen. If it doesn't within that time frame, it doesn't matter. I will eventually, soon enough, as I always say, soon is my word. I'll make it happen, and yeah, to that is, and then the responsibility. The difference that when you have 24,000, people in the world that start to invest and buy your token, and your token losses 95%, and you see that 90%, so 20,000 people probably don't like you anymore, but you still have maybe a few thousands that still not doesn't like you, but they're like, yeah, it's normal, the whole thing dropped, but maybe let's see. And then you still see like some lovely people that believe in you, and you're like, okay, maybe, it's not only about the money, it's about how we make this money into beautiful honey, and how that builds products, and then when you recruit new people and these new people want to build, and the great thing of Swissborg, we're just constantly hiring the best people, and not in terms of skill set, the best people in terms of mindset, philosophy, and how they're entering this family that wants the better and get the better out of themselves, but as well the entire community with it. And yeah, um, it's like some people like doing cross skiing, right? Just going down the slopes. And then some people like doing the ski touring, right? Going all the way on top of the mountain and for 3 4 hours, and then go down the slopes. Well, I like both. I like as well ski touring, where I'm just gonna waste a lot of energy up till the mountain, but then I'm gonna enjoy that maybe 20 minutes of downhill, where it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, great perspective there, and congrats to Dennis. So the next winner here from the community questions is Stephanie G, and she writes, "Hi Cyrus, have you ever thought of sponsoring a Swiss sports team like LHC or GSHC, for example?"
So LHC, obviously, c'est Lausanne Hockey Club. GRC, c'est Genève Servette. Je suis pas être sûr. If someone could say me yes. I think so, Genève Servette. Yes and no. So there's a lot of people that like said that, oh, you should sponsor Zug. Thank you, merci Romain. Um, so the sponsorship, so we're going to be allocating more and more budget to sponsorship. We're trying to see how we want to do this. Again, it's very important to see like what is our DNA, what is our mission, and how we connect to this DNA through these different people. Hockey, obviously, in Switzerland is a national sport, so it's something that's very important. I would say it would make sense. Then if you're in Lausanne, so let's say if you're sponsoring it and you're just small and you see La Vaudoise and huge, or if not La Vaudoise, I forgot which one is the big one, because I haven't been for some time. It doesn't make that much sense. So we'll have to see how we're gonna play this, but we want to do more and more. Um, so a lot of intellectual causes, things that benefit the earth, things that as well have that maybe local culture, you know. But in Switzerland, if I would to choose, I would still go for Roger Federer, because Roger Federer is our, he's our holy grail. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how we play it out. But probably next quarter we'll have a real good campaign and strategy to sponsor the right people and the right activities. Yeah.
That's awesome. Can't wait for the next Swissborg team or stadium coming soon. Um, And so next winner we have Ibrahim Sakia, and he's asking like, what do you think is the key for mass adoption of cryptos?
Yeah, I think so. Well, there's a little, if you want to make a salad out of it, you would start with the basis is the usage of it, right? You, you're not going to have mass adoption if you don't use it. And if you use it, it's probably because you've built beautiful products um, that are scalable. And I think so. We're doing that. Obviously, there was some questions earlier that, oh, ERC20 sucks, the gas fees are too high and all that, and that's for sure. We need to work on that. Um, there's things like being built at Swissborg, like where potentially we could be sending crypto internally for free. So that's a great way where people start like sending out whatever they want to whoever they want around the world, pretty much for free. So that could be really cool. We talked about play to earn. Um, we played as well to crypto nations. This is small, but it's gonna have a real massive impact. How we're playing this. And the last but not least, again, I always say again, but the governance, people voting is cool. I mean, we vote in Switzerland very often. Okay, maybe it's very complicated topic sometimes, so we really have to look exactly why we're voting yes or no. But if you made it in some interactive, fun way, where you would say that, I don't know, what is the next move that something has to do vis-a-vis of this? Yeah, like, what should Swissborg sponsor? LHC, Servette, or Roger Federer? And just people would vote on that. That would be great, right? Or then the next question would be, who is the coolest influencer? Is it him, or her? And people will be influenced, and then essentially be able to, I don't know, you know, do something with that. So I think so that could bring something into the spectrum, and yeah.
Awesome, and congratulations to Ibrahim there. So the next winner here is Cotillion, and his question is, what is your philosophy regarding CHSB and societal integration in the future? For example, CHSB as a Swiss standard currency, is this possible, or how do you aim to achieve this?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I mean, so first, is Swissborg only going to have one crypto, right? That's the first thing. And based on that is that, we've seen multiple different other cryptos that have launched their own different tokens, right? And some is for their own blockchain whatsoever. And I think so. Obviously, Swissborg, the Swissborg token is the mother of the tokens. But we do have this appetite for next year to be launching other side projects that could be platforms where people could start, be investing in these different tokens, or doing, a lot yield farming through Swissborg token to acquire these new tokens and whatsoever. So that's pretty much where we want to focus. Then on being our own currency, not for now. It's even Bitcoin, all it's just too volatile. All of these, I mean, imagine you start buying a car, a month ago with Swissborg tokens. What is that, 80 cents? Now it's at 60 cents. It wouldn't make sense yet. So the idea is really to grow our wonderful community and give always these extra powers, which is about maximizing yields, reducing fees, giving people the possibility to vote, and then to be adding more and more more and more ways where people could stake and maybe earn in different other tokens. That's maybe a cool way to grow the Swissborg token. And then a few years from now, we'll see how things evolve. It's always very hard. We see that crypto is dog years, so 1 year from now it's like 7 years in the regular economy. So it's very hard to see what's going to happen.
Pretty cool. So next winner is Sibate Ramupudu, and he's asking, where do you see CHSB in the next 5 years, and what's your what's your vision for the token itself and the utility and yeah.
So I'm only 38 years old, and in 5 years times 7, it's 35. So I'm gonna be very old by then. I have no clue. You never know what it's gonna be. It's probably gonna be multi-chain, that's for sure, or at least have on a chain that as reduces like pretty much on a proof of stake concept. Will it have its own blockchain? Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to figure this out. Um, then we always, as I mentioned, is we want this to be the holy grail, and where from that you could really be able to extract a lot of value from the Swissborg ecosystem. And the premium tiers that we put, I think, sort of are one way, but we have to rethink of different ways how people could again start to have superpowers in our great ecosystem.
Awesome and great answers. Congratulations to all the winners here. 1,000 CHSB each. That's Dennis Glavin, Stephanie G. Ibrahim, Contillion, and Seabait. If you guys could all just DM us on Twitter to claim your prize. Congratulations again, guys. The holidays came early for you this year. And if we do have Roger Federer as a sponsor, I would definitely love to have him back on Staking Mondays. That would be an interesting conversation. Again, I just want to thank you coming on the show today. It was absolutely amazing having you on here, Cyrus. And if you could just please give the audience information on where they can find more stuff that you're working on and more information about you in general.
Yeah, man, I think so. Twitter is always a great way. I think it's Cyrus_Fazel at Twitter. If not, download our app. I think this is the best. Watch us on the powwows on Tuesdays, and yeah, check us out on Swissborg.com.
Thanks again. And for everyone watching, please be sure to subscribe to Staking Rewards on YouTube and bookmark stakingrewards.com to keep track of all the yields in the crypto market. As always, guys, happy staking. Thanks for watching. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Cyrus.
Thanks, Baker. Thanks again.